A New Mexico jury recently found that Meta, the parent company of Facebook, knowingly harmed children and hit the company with a $375 million penalty. Now, we already know that teens and young adults are under a lot of mental stress. Data shows that between 2008 and 2018, the number of young adults reporting a major depressive episode rose by 83%. And suicide has become the second leading cause of death for people between the ages of 15 and 24 in the US. So clearly, something has changed for the worse for young people. But Zuckerberg's argument, the CEO of Facebook, has always been this: there is no research proving that Facebook or social media more generally directly causes this decline in mental health. Zuckerberg is arguing that maybe social media is causing harm, but maybe the story is the other way around. It may be that young people who are already struggling are more likely to turn to Facebook. That's the core question. Which one is it? Is social media causing the problem, or are vulnerable kids simply using it more? In today's episode, we go straight at that question with a cleaner real-world test. Hi, I'm Sumit Malik, a researcher at the University of Amsterdam, and welcome to Devil Wears Data, where I break down interesting and important research for you. Because here is the problem. A lot of research by scientists is written for other scientists, not for you. But if you're curious, I'm here for you. Researchers from Bocconi, Tel Aviv University, and MIT wanted to answer a very specific question. Does social media actually cause mental health problems, or are struggling young people simply more likely to use it? As I said earlier, this is a real scientific challenge. How do you show that Facebook is leading to worse mental health rather than just attracting people who are already struggling? So the researchers looked for a real-world setting that gets much closer to the cause and effect. And what they found is actually very clever. If you're old like I am, you may remember that Facebook did not launch everywhere at the same time. In its early rollout from 2004 to 2006, Facebook was only available at selected colleges, and you needed a university email address to join. It was not like today, where anyone can sign up. Back then, Facebook would actually announce which colleges had just been added. So students at different universities got access at different times. And that gave researchers a useful natural experiment. For example, if you had a Harvard email address where Facebook was founded by Zuckerberg before he dropped out, you could get on Facebook very early. But if you were at a university somewhere else in the country, especially outside those early elite schools, you might have gotten access months later. So now you have something powerful. Some colleges got Facebook earlier and some got it later. That means researchers can compare what happened to mental health at colleges after Facebook arrived against colleges where Facebook had not arrived. That gets us much closer to cause and effect. A simple way to think about it is this: if mental health starts changing after Facebook becomes available on a campus and not before, that is a much stronger evidence that Facebook itself is playing a role. And the results, honestly, are not that surprising. The researchers find that when Facebook arrived on a college campus, student mental health got measurably worse. To put that into perspective, the negative mental health effect of gaining access to Facebook was about 22% as large as the psychological hit of losing a job. So this was not a tiny effect, it was substantial. They also found nearly a 10% increase in students experiencing symptoms consistent with clinical depression. And this effect did not level off. It built up over time. The longer students were exposed to Facebook, the worse their mental health became. Now, one possible pushback is this. Maybe Facebook itself was not the problem. Maybe students were just using the internet more in a disruptive way. Maybe they were wasting more time online, getting distracted, playing video games, and that was what was hurting their mental health. But the researchers looked at that too. In the survey data, students were asked whether internet use or computer games were hurting their academic performance. There was a small increase in students saying yes, but that effect was not statistically significant. In other words, the evidence suggests that the disruptive internet use was not the main problem here. Now, there is another possible explanation. Maybe one student got Facebook, they were actually partying more, drinking more, or using more drugs, looking at other students, and those changes were what were really hurting their mental health. But that does not seem to be the cause either. The researchers found no significant evidence that Facebook's arrival led to higher alcohol use or more drug use. It was also not simply that students became comfortable about reporting mental health problems over time. In other words, the stigma of reporting mental health problems went down. That does not explain the pattern either. So what really explains it? The most likely answer is social comparison and a distorted sense of reality. See, what happens is Facebook gives you a very distorted view of other people's life. It's not a balanced view. It gives you a very curated feed. You see friends partying, socializing, traveling, showing off experiences, hobbies, and good moments. And when that is all you see, it can start to feel like everyone else is living a better, happier, and more exciting life than yours. That is the key point. It is not necessarily that your friends are actually drinking more, partying more, or living better lives. It is that Facebook can make you feel it like that way. And that distorted perception, constantly comparing your real life to someone else's highlight reel, seems to be one of the main reasons mental health got worse. So the question is, what do we do with a research like this? The first thing is that we need to teach people, especially young people, how to read social media for what it really is. It is a performance. It is not a fair snapshot of someone else's life. We do not post the boring parts of our day on social media. If I have 24 hours in a day and only one interesting thing happens, that is the thing I'm most likely to post on social media. In fact, it has now reached the point where I see people going to beautiful places, and instead of enjoying them, they are thinking about the right angle for a selfie so that they can post it online on their social media. So it is very important that we explain to teenagers and other young, impressionable users that these feeds are curated, performative, and deeply incomplete. They're not real life. I have a teenage daughter, and I've shared this research with her too. I've tried to explain how social media can distort reality and over time affect mental health. I think she understands that better now, or at least she started to see what's going on. So please talk to your kids about this, and if this video is useful, share it with teenagers or with parents who have teenagers. Second, we need habits, products, and support systems that make young people feel less trapped inside this loop, because this can become a reinforcing cycle. Students feel lonely or isolated, so they turn to their phones. They have nowhere else to go to. But the more they turn to social media, the worse they may feel. And if real life social connection is weak, then social media starts to feel like the only place left to go. So the takeaway from this research is not that the young people are unusually fragile. It is that they are living inside a system that makes social comparison constant, easy, and emotionally unfair. Social media turns curated lives into a misleading scoreboard. And once you understand that, a lot of what we are seeing starts to make more sense. If you're interested in other research on how technologies like AI are affecting society, I will link some of my other videos below. Thank you so much for your attention, and I will see you next time on Devil Wears Data with another interesting and important research.